Hello, YouTubers. Just had a discovery today with when I was finishing an ABS part, and I thought I'd share it with all you folks when and some of the other ABS printing and design tips that I've learned over the last year or so. Um, Took a while for them to sink in, but I I went through some of the parts that I did like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, and yeah, it was kind of disgusting what I was doing back then, really, and I thought they were pretty good at that point. But so it's time for me to share some of that with you folks, and we'll get the show on the road here. What do we got? So we'll do a bit of a shell game here. So I guess to start off with, so there's a bunch of things I want to hit on here, and so I guess first and foremost is get away from rafts. I used rafts a lot until very recently. They are a waste of time, and you got to peel the parts off. You get a crappy surface finish, all that sort of stuff. In case you're not familiar with rafts, oh wow, that's some contrasty stuff there. So rafts are these, right? So it's just a waste of your time. Get off of it. So I print directly on glass. I don't use hairspray. I don't use anything. It's just it's messy, I found. So the only thing you've really got to do, and what I've learned about that, is you really have to slow the speed down on your first layer of print. And I think mine is probably 20%, maybe. Yeah, my first layer speed's 20%. I could probably go a little bit faster, but I also do skirts, and for some reason the skirts don't really understand that first layer speed. But anyways, it works for me. It adheres really good, and yeah, throw your rafts away. Get rid of that crap. It's no good. Just get over it. So don't do rafts. And glass is a beautiful thing. I love printing on glass, and I orientate my parts in such a way to get that nice mirror finish. If you can see, you probably see all kinds of reflection off of that. So there's the top versus the bottom, right? And like that is just mirror finish. I think I have some. Yeah. So here's some other stuff. That's. Can't really get the light to bounce off it, but trust me, it's a beautiful thing. So that's enough about that sort of stuff. And so the glass, actually, by the way, the glass I use, I've heard people say use your regular picture frame glass or whatever. I don't know. I think I'd stay away from that. It doesn't deal with temperature change very well, and it could shatter all over the place, making a bit of a mess. But I have a friend that owns a glass business, and he happened to have a bunch of fireplace glass kicking around that were just small pieces, but large enough for me. So that works out great, and it's I think it's called what is it called? I think I might have it on the screen here. Neo Ceram, and it's actually not glass, it's actually ceramic. Yeah, here we are. So I'm not sure what, there's pyroceram and neoceram, any of this stuff doesn't matter. You can heat this stuff up to who knows what degree and dump water on it, and it doesn't shatter. So it works really good. So yeah, get yourself some glass and slow the speed down on the first layer. So some other things about printing on ABS, since that's really all I've ever did, and apparently it's supposed to be pretty difficult, but I pretty much have it nailed now. So why would I go to PLA? Hey, you PLA wimps, get off of PLA and get onto ABS. Don't be such cowards. So let's look at some of the design. Oh, while I'm here, so this is the printer I have. It's basically, I think it's a, oh, I looked it up. It's a MakerBot Replicator Dual, basically. A beautiful printer, though. I love this printer. It's, I got so lucky. I knew nothing about printing. Happened to run across a really good deal on it. It works great. The only problems I really have with it is ringing. And in case you don't know what that is, let's see if we can see it on the camera here. Let's move the camera up. Get up here. Okay, so see if I can catch it in the right light. I don't know if I can. Yeah, you can see it a bit there, where it basically leaves shadows. And when I'm printing at, I think it's 60 millimeters a second or 3600 millimeters a minute, something like that. My printer's actually vibrating quite a bit and slamming around a bit, and that's what causes that sort of stuff. So that's it seems to be a fairly common problem with the Creator Pro, that the actual mass of the two heads, the dual extruders on it. I'm trying to get zoomed in on it, but let's see. Let's try this. Yeah, so there's two heads in there, a fan, all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of mass to swing around there. So if I wasn't so lazy, I could probably take that second head off. It's a pain, and stop that ringing, and maybe even be able to speed it up a bit. But like I said, I'm lazy, and I might actually go with some billet aluminum. See if I can get some billet aluminum heads. Put two heads on there and go wild with that. So anyways, that's about that. Oh yeah, and I wouldn't mind getting some of these Micro Swiss full metal hot ends either. So enough of that. Enough about me. So about onto design and rafts and how to build your print. Let's go over here to Simplify 3D. If in case you guys haven't used this, it's a wonderful program, by the way. But I kind of regret I got it so early, because I don't know a lot about the other programs. So one of the things you want to do in your designs and look for in designs is, so we're in Open SCAD here, is you want to do smart things like this, like build these tapers all over the place. Because if you don't, let's try and get it zoomed in. If you don't build this taper right here, you're going to be in for a world of hurt and hang here. So yeah, it's all about the design, how you do the design. So somebody's here, so my dogs are going to go nuts. Please excuse the dogs. So anyways, that's and for those of you who aren't familiar with OpenSCAD too, it's a great CAD program, but there really are no drawing elements. It is completely code. I'm doing a live video right now. Yes, I was worried. But the beauty of it is you can do all kinds of crazy things with it. Like everything's variables, and you can do things like the paddle is the inside piece here, and I can do crazy things like, say, let's decrease the size of that paddle, and it completely regenerates the part. I've got to do an actual regen, which will take a bit. So all I did is changed one single variable there, and everything else builds around it. So I understand you can do that a little bit in Fusion PBX, but there's a kind of that's why Customizer works so well in Thingiverse, or doesn't work anymore in Thingiverse. Is for people that really don't know CAD or anything like that, it can be a good thing. So let's back away from that, and you're gonna have to trust me on that, because it takes a while to regenerate this. I don't know what's going on with it, but Oh, there we are. So it changed all the dependent pieces on this. Same thing, I've got another variable. I don't know which one it is. It is the on-off board goes in here. So if I change the X or the Y here, it will rebuild this thing all around it. So enough of that. And so I guess I was getting on to supports and just design your parts so that you don't need a lot of supports because it just burns filament, it burns time, there's more things to go wrong. So I guess that's about design on parts. But the other thing that I've really caught on to in the last month or two is um, mouse ears or helper discs they're called. Hey, I can't focus very well here, so I'm going to go over to the chat for a second because I'm not as good at this as Eric. So we'll go over to the chat and see what's going on here. Sorry, guys. So, yo, looks good, sounds nice. Only 480 feed though. Oh, what's going on with the 480 feed? Well, hopefully you can see what I'm doing at least. So, so I don't know which program you're talking about there, Electronics Workshop. If it's OpenSCAD or Simplify. Simplify does cost. I think it's about 150 US. But it is a good program, and I can, if you guys want, I can show you some stuff there. But it's a good program. So OpenSCAD, OpenSCAD, I call it SCAD, which probably sounds like scab, but um, it's yeah, it's interesting. It's pretty brutal though. Like if you need to do anything other than primitive sort of stuff, then OpenSCAD just it's brutal. Like if you look at the code, oh, OpenSCAD mod killed the stream. Killed it dead, Eric, or huh? Okay, well, it might have been the regeneration I did in that. I guess that was kind of stupid. So, um, as you can see here, it's nice that you can do modules. If you are a hardcore programmer, it would be nice. But you've got to think about everything. It's nuts. So, um, anyways, I don't know. Do I have something simple in here? So this guy's actually relatively simple because what I'm doing is importing this entire cube. So let me just show you. So I'm importing that as is. And all I'm really doing with this part, and it's pretty hard, yeah, you can't really tell because it's a bit messy. Um, all I'm really doing is putting that ring around the bottom. I'm cutting out holes to go in here so that I can slide the magnets to the side. And you know, this is a lot of it's commented, I guess, but this is the code to do that. But it allows you to use sines and cosines and all that sort of stuff. Like it's a programmer's CAD program. So anyhow, sorry about that. Killing that. I'll have to remember. Don't regen in OpenSCAD when you're running the stream. So I think that cleaned up all of that chit chat that was going on. So I'll move that back over there. And I don't know where I was. I guess oh, helper discs. Helper discs. I just love them. They are so much more than what I started off with. So printing ABS. ABS has a habit of, well, not a habit, it's just the nature of the beast, is it curls up, especially on sharp corners. So those aren't necessarily real sharp, but on corners like that, let's look at the bottom. If you, here, let's clean some of this up. So there's the actual part. So those are fairly sharp corners at the bottom. Those suckers will curl up. They'll curl up at least a millimeter. and it's just ugly and nasty. And when you get onto parts, especially like these guys, where they fit together to form a cube, um, let's go over to the Logitech cam. So yeah, these guys, of course, fit together like that. I've got the ring around it. It has to be cut off, but you know, you don't want these things curled up. It's ugly and nasty, and they don't fit so well. So helper discs prevent these corners from pulling up and curling up, and it does a wonderful job. As you can see here, like you would see an indentation, like there's maybe a tiny, tiny indentation. Yeah, there is. I guess I wasn't on the video. Yeah, right. Where am I going? Right there, you can see a tiny indentation where that's curled up, but very small. If I didn't have those rings, let me flip back. If I didn't have those helper rings there, those suckers would be curling up like a millimeter at least. It doesn't matter what you set. I've tried 50 different ways to set my print bed, heat, everything. It's just what happens with ABS. So number one, for helper discs or mouse ears or whatever you want to call them, they stop the ABS from curling up, and you don't have to use rafts. Rafts will stop that too, but you know, you get that nice finish too. Number two of what you get from them is, and again, actually, I kind of alluded to it, was that, sorry, I'm reading the comments here at the same time, so it looks like we're okay. Thanks for the feedback there, Eric. So it allows you, it gives you better bed adhesion. If you look at these guys, I don't know if I don't have one without a ring. So let's just, yes, we can remove the helper ring. So there's not a lot of surface area on there, on that part. So those helper rings give you a lot better bed adhesion. And basically on these, I'm just going to cut this stuff off here when I'm all done. And it's pretty easy to do that with a nice sharp utility knife. But today I just really discovered, and this moves into the next section, is about acetone smoothing or acetone vaporization. Is those helper rings are awesome for that, because what they do is, you can see, one of the challenges with acetone vaporizing is, doesn't matter what system you have, it's knowing when to pull the thing out, how much density of acetone you have. Because when you pull the part out, the part's not done yet. It's still gonna cook for a little while afterwards. So, you know, you watch the thing, it looks like it's getting a little shiny or whatever, and you take a chance and you pull a sucker out, or you leave it in longer, and it turns to a big ball of mush, basically. But what I found today, when I have these helper rings on, I think these ones are, these particular ones are probably, I think they're about 0.4 mil, and that's kind of because I wanted a surface here. You might not be able to see on this, or maybe this is the wrong file, where I slide magnets into these suckers. So what happens is, when you're acetone vaporizing them, let me switch to the camera here. Okay, so when you're acetone vaporizing them, these suckers, let's take this one. So those helper discs, because they're thin, they start to droop. So that's a really good indicator. And if one was really spent some time on this, you could make them, you know, just the right height, so that when they started to droop, or when they hit a certain level, this stuff is kind of hard to see. I wonder if I switch over to the microscope. Let's try that. Okay, and So yeah, you can, I don't know, it's hard to see, but you'll have to take my word for it. This stuff really starts to droop. And once they start to droop, it's, hey, it's time to take them out and let them cook a little while longer. And these ones are probably pretty good. I might throw them in for a little bit longer. You can see the difference between the two here, I think. So yeah, for sure. So anyways, that's reason number 3 for helper discs. So on this other print, I don't remember if I showed you or not, but basically when you look on this print, let's turn everything on. So I've got a helper disc on each corner to prevent the curling of the of the sweat or the part to come up. And I've also put an extra one on each end because what I found was, because I'm printing straight to glass and it's low density on supports, is these supports were, oh shoot, I gotta switch over to here. Sorry about that. So one on each corner to hold that down and one at each end for these supports, because what I found was these supports were not adhering at all, because there's not hardly any surface area there. So those little helper discs that are only like 0.4 millimeters are great. They save my bacon there, and they provide nice support for this and all that noise. So because in this situation I couldn't make a taper to go up here like this. The sucker's got to fit in there. So I'll just show you on the microscope. So there's one of the supports. Let's see if I got a switch here. I don't know, something kicking around. So this sucker would go in here like this, and those supports are perfect. They held up great, and you can see the helper disc right there. So 3 really good reasons to use helper discs. And that's on the finishing stuff. And I just have to say about the acetone smoothing is keep it simple, stupid. I saw, not to call Eric stupid, but I saw one of Eric's videos on using a rice cooker for acetone. I saw another one, and I really went at it to try and do it with a vacuum to basically vaporize acetone and suck it in through a vacuum and blah blah blah. And it wasn't worth it. It's not worth it because there's not a lot of pumps or stuff that will stand up to acetone, and it's just nothing but a world of hurt and leaks and all kinds of junk like that. So keep it simple. I've got a really simple setup, and used to be a complicated setup, but I basically just have, let's switch over to the Logitech. So I don't know, this would be kind of tough to see, but I just have a big container. I don't know, it's really tough to get seal on vacuum too. So this was the container I was using, and you can't really see it, but I'm gonna pull the lid off and just show you what I do now. That's it. It's just a container, and I have like paper towel in it with magnets holding it up, paper towel in the bottom. All I do is I just dribble acetone all around the edge, make sure it's coated or wet, and the bottom piece is wet. Throw the part in. For these parts, I believe, were about 45 minutes, and then just pull it out. And so I built a little tray that I just drop in here. I put these holes in specifically for these because I don't want to touch the bottom. And I never did look in the middle. Yeah, it's all fine there. So so they're nice and even. They get done nice and even. I should have maybe turned them a little bit because I think one side's done a little bit more than the other, but I don't know. I can't tell. So moral of that story is keep it simple. Acetone is not fun to deal with. Well, it's all right. It's actually a very safe chemical. I love it. but very flammable. So you know, be safe. Um, I think that's about all I had going on here. If you have any comments, suggestions, if you have tips on ABS, design, printing, or finishing, post them in the comments, and you know, we'll discuss them. So I guess I'll take a quick look at the comments and see what's going on. Let's go back to display. I really got to set up these scenes here. This is a pain. I'm moving around manually, but blah blah blah. Just made my dog. Oh, oops. What's your dog, a scaredy cat? Electronics workshop made him leave the room. Jeez, tell him to grow us that. So, Eric, thanks for all the feedback, Eric. I'll remember that about OpenSCAD. It is a brute when it regenerates, especially if you have text on anything. I don't know what it is with text, but extruded text is just wicked. It goes away for a long time. Maybe on your end. Okay, well, doesn't matter. Heat comes in and much more uniform. You won't see layer lines when done fully. Yeah, you might get. I don't know. Maybe Eric and I should have a shootout and see whose acetone vaporizer works better. I don't know. Maybe it's more uniform. I don't know. It's acetone, so you know, as long as it gets on the parts. I didn't. These parts that I did. There are. Let's just flip cameras. So there are still some lines in them. Yeah, I don't know how well you can see that, but there's still some. But I don't know if I really cook it, they'll all go away. But then you run into the challenge of turning the part into a big blob of molten ABS. So I'm thinking Eric and I should get together and have a shootout on acetone vaporizer units. Who does best? So hey, there's the gauntlet, Eric. I'll talk to you in Discord chat. So hey, everybody, make sure you go out. That's where I hang out mostly, and Eric and a bunch of other good guys out there is in Discord chat on the MKME channel. So we'll give you a big shout out, Eric. Not like you need a shout out from me, but let's. Oh yeah, this is Eric's video that I was kind of inspired by. So anyways, www.mkme.org, and hang out with some really bright guys that are always willing to help out. So have a great day, guys. Talk to you later.